mockery at the council. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with light, sound, and voices. 1,000 species gathered there, their banners hanging above long rows of stone seats. For most, this was the center of power in the galaxy, place where only the strongest civilizations had influence. At the far end of the chamber, the great podium rose like a mountain of steel. From there, speakers of powerful worlds shouted, argued, and made their laws. Humans were there too, but not with pride. They were placed at the edge, far from the center, in a small seat that looked more like an afterthought than a place of honor. For years, the galaxy had called them the young species, not ready for true power, not strong enough to be respected. The council speaker, a tall insectoid creature with 6 eyes, struck the podium with his staff. The noise in the chamber died down. His voice carried across the great hall, smooth and sharp. Next, Earth. From the shadows of the lower rows, a single human representative stood up. His name was Daniel Reeve, a young delegate in a simple black uniform. He walked toward the podium slowly, feeling thousands of alien eyes watching him. Some eyes glowed, some blinked in strange colors, and many were filled with mocking amusement. Daniel reached the center, placed his hand on the silver railing, and looked at the gathering. For a moment, he said nothing. The silence was heavy, and then it broke with laughter. One alien, a broad reptilian with golden scales, leaned forward and hissed. "Ah, the human come to beg again? Or maybe to apologize for existing." The chamber erupted with laughter. Claws hit tables, wings clapped, and long tongues flicked in the air. Another alien, a creature made of shifting blue mist, spoke with a deep echo. "Your planet is small. Your fleets are toys. You are nothing but dust on the edge of the stars. Why are you even here?" The laughter grew louder. The mockery spread like fire, each delegate throwing insults, each voice filled with scorn. Daniel did not smile. He did not bow. He kept his hands steady on the railing. His eyes scanned the crowd. He saw hatred, amusement, superiority, but no respect. And yet deep inside, his face did not change. The insectoid speaker banged his staff again. "Silence. Let the humans speak. We all enjoy their little speeches." More laughter followed, cruel and sharp. Daniel finally raised his voice. It was calm, but it carried across the chamber. "You laugh at us, you mock us, you think Earth is weak." A murmur passed through the hall. The reptilian leaned forward again. "Weak? No, not weak. Pathetic." The blue mist swirled higher. "You humans are like children playing with knives. Every war you fight is small, every victory meaningless." Daniel let them finish. Then he spoke again, his tone sharper. "You think we are children, but children grow, children learn, children remember who insulted them." The words seemed simple, but the tone was not. The laughter slowed. A few aliens shifted uncomfortably. Daniel's hand tightened on the railing. His voice grew colder. "For years we sat here and listened. For years you told us to stay quiet, to stay small, to stay weak. But Earth has heard enough." The insectoid speaker tilted his head, amused. "And what will Earth do, little human? Fight us with your tiny ships? Shout us into silence?" This time Daniel did not hesitate. He leaned forward, his eyes burning with something that made even the reptilian shift back. "We will show you." The chamber went quiet, truly quiet. No laughter, no insults, no mocking tones. The silence spread, heavy and uneasy. Daniel slowly stepped back from the podium. His voice dropped to a near whisper, but every alien could hear it. "Remember my words. When Earth moves, you will not laugh. You will not speak. You will not even breathe." Then he turned and walked back to his seat. For a long moment, the council chamber was frozen. The aliens, so loud a minute ago, sat in silence. Their mocking smiles faded into thin lines. Some looked at each other with uneasy glances. The insectoid speaker clicked his mandibles but did not laugh again. He struck the staff once more, too quickly, too sharply, next matter?" he said, his voice quieter than before. But the silence stayed. Daniel Reeves sat down in his small chair, hands folded, face calm. Yet inside, his heart pounded like thunder. He knew what Earth had prepared in the shadows of its blue oceans. He knew what was coming. And soon the galaxy would know too. For now, the Council mocked him no more. They did not speak. They did not dare. The silence of the chamber was the first crack in their power. The secret preparations after the Council meeting, whispers spread through the stars. Some species laughed again, saying the human delegate's words were empty. Others stayed quiet, unsettled by the fire in his eyes. But far away, across the cold void, Earth was already moving. Beneath the blue skies of the homeworld, under oceans and mountains, deep tunnels stretched for miles. These tunnels were not on any alien map, not recorded in any database. They were hidden. They were secret. And inside them, humanity prepared for a storm. In one such tunnel, miles below the rocky mountain's giant steel doors opened. Daniel Reeve walked through the passage, his steps echoing against walls lined with glowing screens and humming generators. Here, there were no alien eyes, no mocking laughter, only determination. Rows of engineers and scientists stood at workstations. Sparks flew from welding arcs. The smell of oil and heated metal filled the air. Men and women worked in silence, their hands steady, their faces sharp with focus. At the center of the cavern stood something massive, something that looked more like a mountain than a machine. Its hull was black, shaped like a blade of night, and the lights above glinted against its armored surface. A ship, a warship like none the galaxy had ever seen. Daniel placed his hand on the cold surface of the hull. "How long?" he asked. A woman in a white coat, her hair tied back, looked up from her screen. "The first squadron will be ready within weeks. Faster than light cores are stable. The new weapons are beyond anything the Council imagines." Daniel's eyes narrowed. He remembered the laughter in the Council chamber. "Good. Then we are almost ready." Across the planet, other tunnels were alive with activity. In Antarctica, ice cracked as enormous hangars opened, revealing fleets of black ships rising like shadows. In the deserts of Africa, underground rail lines carried heavy weapon systems the size of towers. Even the moon was alive with secret bases. In the deep craters, humans had built launch sites hidden from alien eyes. From there, rockets carried supplies to stations circling Earth, silent and unseen. The galaxy thought Earth was quiet. They thought humanity was too weak, too slow. But in truth, Earth had been preparing for decades. Every insult, every mockery, had only fueled the fire. Humanity had learned from every war it fought on its own soil. Now those lessons were turned to the stars. At the edge of the Pacific Ocean, in a fortress hidden under the waves, Admiral Hayes stood before a giant holographic display. The map showed the galaxy, its sectors glowing in faint colors. Red dots spread across the Council's territory, each marking a fleet, a station, a stronghold. Beside him, officers in dark uniforms waited for orders. The Admiral's voice was firm. "We will not strike without purpose. We will not waste our fury. Every blow must be remembered. Every battle must echo across the stars." A younger officer leaned forward. "What if the Council underestimates us again?" The Admiral's lips curved into something close to a smile. "Then we make sure they cannot forget." In the quiet of the chamber, Daniel stood beside the Admiral. "The Council will not believe us until we act," he said softly. "They think our ships are toys." Admiral Hayes nodded. "Then let them see our toys." He pressed a command on the table. The map shifted. Dozens of red dots blinked. Slowly, one by one, blue signals lit up. Human fleets, human weapons, human stations hidden in the dark. The room filled with a quiet hum. Officers exchanged looks of awe and fear. For years they had built these fleets in silence. For years they had hidden them from alien eyes. And now, finally, the time was near. But not all were confident. In the far corner, an old scientist raised his voice. His name was Dr. Keller, one of the men who had built the first railgun that could tear through a battleship's hull. His eyes were tired but sharp. "We must be careful," Keller warned. "The Council has numbers. If they combine their fleets, we are outmatched." Daniel turned toward him. "Numbers mean nothing if their ships burn before they can fight." Keller looked uneasy, but he said no more. For the first time in history, Earth had weapons not just equal, but greater than the Council. Ships that moved faster than light without leaving a trace, railguns that could cut through shields like paper, plasma storms that could consume entire fleets, and above all, Earth had fury. Fury sharpened into steel, fury hidden in silence. That night, as Daniel stood on the surface of Earth, he looked up at the stars. They seemed peaceful, like tiny lights scattered across the black sky. But he knew the truth. War was coming. He remembered the laughter of the Council, their mocking voices. Soon those voices would be gone. Soon the galaxy would know what humanity truly was. Daniel whispered to himself, the words carried away by the wind. They will not laugh again. The first strike. The stars were quiet that night. Out on the edge of Council space, patrol ships drifted through the void. Their crews were relaxed, laughing, drinking, and playing games. For years, guarding the borders had been easy work. The Council believed no one dared to strike them. No one was foolish enough to challenge their power. But that night, the silence broke. On the patrol screens, strange signals flickered, weak, almost invisible. At first, the alien crew thought it was nothing more than static. A board officer leaned back in his chair and waved his hand. "Ignore it," he muttered. "Just a ghost signal." But the signal grew stronger. Then another appeared. And another. Soon the entire radar was alive with ghostly lights. The captain stood, his four eyes narrowing. "That's no static," he growled. "That's something moving." Before the words fully left his mouth, the void outside their windows shifted. From the blackness of space, shadows appeared, dozens of ships, sleek and silent. Their hulls were dark as night, shaped like blades, their engines leaving no trails. Human ships. The patrol crew froze. None of them had ever seen such designs. No glowing shields, no roaring engines, no grand banners. These ships looked like hunters, silent hunters. "Send a warning to the Council," the captain shouted. But it was too late. One of the human ships moved. Its side opened, and a railgun fired. A single bolt of light tore across space, piercing the patrol ship from bow to stern. The vessel exploded into fire, fragments scattering like sparks in the wind. The other patrols panicked. They tried to flee, but the humans were faster. Silent beams cut through them. Plasma storms swallowed them. Within minutes, the border patrol was gone, burned into dust. On the bridge of the human flagship Iron Resolve, Daniel Reeves stood beside Admiral Hayes. The holo display showed the battlefield. Red dots blinked out one by one as alien ships were destroyed. Admiral Hayes' voice was calm. "First patrol down. They never had a chance." Daniel's hands gripped the rail tightly. "Good. But this is only the beginning." The Admiral nodded. He turned to his crew. "Prepare the strike on their stronghold. No survivors. Let the galaxy see our fire." Far away, deep in Council territory, a great fortress orbited a gas giant. This fortress was considered untouchable. Built with heavy shields defended by fleets, it had stood for centuries as a symbol of Council power. That night, its alarm screamed. Human ships appeared in the void, emerging like ghosts from the black. The fortress crews scrambled, shouting, raising defenses. Energy cannons fired into the dark, but their beams hit nothing. Then came the retaliation. Human warships struck with speed and precision. Railguns fired in synchronized bursts, tearing through shields like paper. Plasma storms ignited, washing over entire enemy squadrons. Alien ships tried to fight back, but their shots missed, their weapons too slow. Within minutes, the proud fortress cracked open. Flames spilled out from its core. Explosions chained through its towers, lighting up the gas giant's surface with fire. From orbit, the humans watched as the once mighty stronghold collapsed. What the galaxy had called invincible was now nothing more than burning wreckage drifting. In the void, news traveled fast. Across the stars, alien networks buzzed with frantic messages. Council fortress destroyed, human fleet sighted, thousands dead. Some species refused to believe it. Impossible, they said. Humans do not have such power, but the survivors told the truth. Their voices shook with fear. They came from nowhere. Their weapons tore us apart. In the council chamber, chaos broke out. Delegates screamed, argued, shouted over one another. The insectoid speaker slammed his staff again and again, but no one listened. A reptilian delegate hissed in panic. "This is war. The humans have attacked us." A mist creature swirled in dread. "How could they build such fleets without our knowledge?" Fear filled the chamber. For the first time in centuries, the council felt powerless. Back on the flagship, Daniel stood at the viewing window. He saw the burning fortress fade into ashes. His reflection looked back at him, eyes dark and steady. "They thought we were weak," he whispered. "Now they will know we are not." Admiral Hayes approached. His face was hard, but his voice was measured. "The council will respond with fury. They will call every fleet they have." Daniel's lips tightened. "Good. Let them come. We will break them all." The humans had made their first strike. The galaxy was in shock. Fear spread faster than light. Every world, every ship, every species whispered the same question. If this is only the beginning, what comes next? The fear spreads. The fortress's destruction spread across the galaxy like wildfire. What had once been whispers now became screams. On every world, in every port, the story was the same. The humans had attacked, the humans had won, and the humans had burned a council stronghold to ash. For centuries, the council had ruled with iron certainty. Their fleets were unmatched, their power unquestioned. But now that belief was broken. The images of the burning fortress were carried across every channel, every frequency. Shattered towers drifting in the void, fleets turned into dust, survivors whispering about weapons no one had ever seen before. On the desert world of Zareth, merchants in the markets stopped their trading to watch the news on holoscreens. The crowd stood in silence as the footage played. Human warships cutting through defenses as if they were nothing. One merchant muttered, "If they can destroy the council's fortress, what chance do we have?" On a distant water planet, children asked their parents why the council soldiers were afraid. Their parents had no answer. Fear spread like poison, slow and heavy. In the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, the fear was even worse. Delegates filled the seats, their voices sharp with panic. The insectoid speaker slammed his staff again and again, trying to bring order. "Silence, silence," he roared, but the chamber was chaos. A scaled reptilian stood, his golden eyes flashing. "This is war. Earth must be crushed before they strike again." A mist being shifted angrily. "You saw the reports. Their ships are faster, their weapons stronger. If we attack blindly, we will lose more." A thick-skinned giant slammed his fist on the table, making it shake. "Lose? To humans? Impossible." But his voice carried no strength, no true belief. "Do we?" Speaker's antennae twitched. "We cannot show weakness. If the galaxy sees us afraid, everything we built will collapse." Yet even as he spoke, silence fell for a moment. Every delegate felt it. The truth they did not want to say aloud. They were afraid. Far across the void, on Earth's hidden bases, preparations did not stop. Inside the deep ocean fortress, Admiral Hayes stood before his officers. The holomap of the galaxy glowed before them, red lines showing enemy fleet movements. "They will call an emergency meeting," the Admiral said. "They will try to unite their fleets. But they are divided. Too proud, too slow. We will strike before they can gather." Daniel Reeves stood beside him, silent at first. Then he spoke, his voice cold. "Every time they mocked us, they gave us reason. Every insult, every laugh, we turned into steel. Now, it's time to use it." The officers nodded. The room was filled not with fear, but with resolve. Meanwhile, on alien worlds, fear turned into whispers of rebellion. On a mining colony controlled by the Council, workers gathered in secret. One whispered, "If humans can break them, maybe the Council is not as powerful as they claim." On another planet, small groups debated in the shadows. "If Earth rises, maybe we should stand with them. The Council has ruled us too long." Fear was no longer only fear. It was the beginning of doubt, and doubt could break empires. Back in the Council chamber, a messenger arrived carrying a small hollow device. The speaker took it, his 6 eyes narrowing. The chamber went silent as the device lit up. It was a message from Earth. The screen showed Admiral Hayes, standing tall in his dark uniform. His face was calm, his voice steady. "To the Galactic Council," he said, "you mocked us, you laughed at us, you told us we were weak. This strike was only a warning." The delegates shifted uncomfortably, some leaning forward, others shrinking back. Hayes continued, "Next time, we will not stop with a fortress. Next time, we will strike where it hurts most. Remember this. Earth does not beg, Earth does not bow, Earth rises." The hollow ended. For a long time, no one spoke. The chamber was drowned in silence. The same silence that had followed Daniel's words weeks ago. Only now it was heavier. Darker. Finally, one delegate whispered, barely audible, "If this was only a warning, what will the next strike be?" In his quarters aboard the flagship Iron Resolve, Daniel looked out at the stars. They looked calm, quiet, like jewels scattered on black velvet. But he knew the truth. Every star, every world, every fleet was now watching Earth. He whispered to himself, "They wanted to silence us with laughter. Now we silence them with fear." The fear spread, and it would not stop. Not now, not ever. Earth's final blow. The galaxy did not sleep. Every channel, every broadcast spoke only of Earth. The Council tried to control the news, but fear had already spread too far. Whole worlds whispered of the fortress that fell, of fleets burned into, nothing of human weapons that moved like shadows. The Council gathered every fleet they could. Thousands of ships, pulled from distant borders, were rushed to defend the core. The chamber of the speaker rang with desperate voices. "They are coming," one delegate shouted. "We must protect the capital," another cried. "Unite or we all fall." But it was too late. Earth had already chosen its next target. Far from the Council worlds, in the deep silence of space, the Iron Resolve led the human fleet. Ships stretched across the dark like black knives, their hulls silent, their engines hidden. Inside the flagship, Admiral Hayes stood before his officers. The hollow map of the galaxy burned with red. At the very center glowed the Council's core defenses, thousands of ships, fortified stations, layers of shields. Hayes's voice was calm but sharp. "We do not strike at their edges anymore. We go for the heart. The Council's power lies in the core. If we break it, we break their will." Daniel Reeve stood beside him. His eyes were fixed on the glowing red circle. No more warnings, no more messages. This time they will know our fury. The room went silent. Every officer knew what it meant. This was not a raid. This was the final blow. The Council fleets waited in their core system. From orbit, their ships filled the skies, layer upon layer of metal and firepower. Alien commanders barked orders, confident in their numbers. One reptilian general hissed, "Let the humans come. They will break on our walls." Another laughed, though nervously. "Their tricks will fail here. No one can defeat the Council at its heart." But deep down, none of them truly believed. Then the stars shifted. From the black void, human ships appeared. Hundreds of them, sleek and silent. Their hulls reflected no light. Their engines whispered no sound. They seemed like ghosts materializing out of the darkness itself. The Council fleets opened fire at once. Beams of plasma, waves of missiles, storms of light filled the skies. The void burned with 1,000 explosions, But the humans did not fall. Their ships darted between the fire, faster than anything the Council had seen. Shields cracked, railguns roared, plasma storms erupted from the human fleet. Alien ships burst apart one after another, shredded before they could even turn. From the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Admiral Hayes gave his order. Cut them down. Leave nothing standing. The battle turned into slaughter. Council lines collapsed within minutes. Their mighty shields, once believed invincible, fell like glass under human weapons. Stations that had stood for centuries cracked open, their wreckage raining into the void. Human railguns fired in rhythm like drums of war. Plasma waves spread through the battlefield, swallowing fleets whole. Alien captains screamed, begged, tried to retreat, but there was nowhere to run. Daniel stood at the window, watching the chaos unfold. "This is their justice," he whispered. "This is Earth's answer." The Iron Resolve pressed forward, its guns blazing. One by one, the defenses around the Council's core burned away. Towers of fire lit the skies brighter than suns. On the Council's capital world, panic reigned. Citizens looked up at the night sky and saw their fleets burning above them. Explosions lit the heavens like storms. The proud world that had mocked. Earth now trembled. In the chamber of the speaker, chaos returned. Delegates shouted, argued, begged for help. The speaker struck his staff again and again, but his voice shook with fear. A delegate cried, "They are breaking through. The humans are here." The chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the truth. The Council's fleets were finished. Back in orbit, the last defenses shattered. Human ships surrounded the capital like wolves around prey. The Iron Resolve moved into position above the Council chamber itself, its shadow falling across the city below. On the bridge, Admiral Hayes gave the final command. Fire! Railguns roared. Plasma storms fell like rain. The skies over the Council capital turned red as towers collapsed and fleets vanished into dust. The once proud heart of the galaxy shook under Earth's fury. Daniel's voice was cold as steel. "They called us weak. Now they kneel." The galaxy watched in silence. The Council's core had fallen, their fleets destroyed, their world burning. Earth had delivered its final blow. Silence in the chamber. The once proud capital of the Council lay in ruins. Flames rose from broken towers. The night sky above the world glowed red with wreckage drifting in orbit. The Council's fleets were gone, their mighty stations reduced to ash. Across the galaxy, silence followed the destruction. No one laughed at Earth anymore. Inside the Great Council chamber, the delegates sat frozen in their seats. The air was heavy with smoke and fear. The insectoid speaker clutched his staff, but his hands trembled. Around him, once proud rulers stared at the floor, too afraid to meet each other's eyes. The silence grew unbearable. For centuries, this chamber had been filled with voices, commands, laws, insults, laughter. Now it was filled with nothing but the sound of distant explosions and the faint hum of failing lights. Then the doors opened. Every delegate turned. Soldiers in dark uniforms marched inside. Human soldiers. Their boots struck the stone floor in steady rhythm, their eyes cold and unyielding. At their center walked Daniel Reeve, no longer just a delegate. He carried himself like the voice of a power no one could deny. Behind him, Admiral Hayes entered, his uniform dark and his face grim. Together they walked to the speaker's podium. The soldiers lined the walls, silent and still, their presence enough to crush any thought of resistance. Daniel placed his hand on the railing where he had once stood, mocked and laughed at. His voice carried across the chamber, steady and sharp. "Do you remember the day you laughed at us?" he asked quietly. No one answered. He let the silence stretch. "You called us weak. You called us children. You told us we did not belong in this chamber. And yet here we stand. And where are your fleets now? Where are your fortresses? Where is your power?" The speaker opened his mandibles, but no sound came out. His 6 eyes blinked rapidly. Finally, in a voice barely audible, he whispered, "Gone." Daniel's gaze was cold. Yes. Gone. Admiral Hayes stepped forward. His voice was louder, commanding. This chamber has ruled the galaxy for centuries. You thought yourselves untouchable. You believed your power eternal. But now you know the truth. Earth cannot be mocked. Earth cannot be silenced. Earth cannot be broken. The delegates shifted in their seats, their faces pale, their eyes wide. Some shook their heads, in disbelief. Others lowered their gazes, too ashamed to speak. One reptilian delegate finally found the courage to hiss, "What do you want from us?" Daniel's eyes locked onto him. Respect. The word echoed through the chamber like thunder. He continued, his tone sharp as steel. You will no longer laugh at us. You will no longer call us weak. From this day, Earth is not your child, not your servant, not your fool. From this day, we are your equal, or your end. The reptilian shrank back into his seat, unable to meet Daniel's eyes. The chamber remained in silence. The galaxy's strongest rulers, once so loud, so proud, now sat like frightened children before the humans they had mocked. Admiral Hayes looked around the room, his voice firm. You have two choices. Accept Earth as your equal or fall like your fleets. Speak now. But no one spoke. Not a whisper. Not a sound. The silence stretched until it became unbearable. Finally, the insectoid speaker lowered his staff and bowed his head. His voice was faint. We accept. The word rippled through the chamber. One by one, other delegates lowered their heads in silence. Not a single one dared to oppose. Daniel stepped back from the podium. He looked at the chamber, at the same rulers who once mocked him. Now, none of them could even look at him. None dared to laugh. He turned to Hayes. It is done. The Admiral gave a single nod. His voice was calm, but his eyes were cold. The galaxy is silent. Daniel looked back one last time at the chamber. He remembered the first day he had stood there, alone, surrounded by laughter. Now he stood as the voice of Earth's fury, and the laughter was gone. Only silence remained. Far beyond the chamber, across the stars, the message spread. The Council had bowed. The galaxy had fallen silent. Humanity, once mocked as weak and small, now stood as a power none could ignore, and every world whispered the same truth. Earth had risen. A new order. The chamber of the Galactic Council remained silent long after the humans left. The banners of 1,000 worlds hung above, but they no longer looked proud. They looked like decorations in a tomb. The rulers of the galaxy had bowed, and none of them dared to raise their voices again. Outside, the Council's capital still burned. The skies glowed red from the wreckage of fleets, and the ground trembled with the echoes of battle. Across the galaxy, every world watched, some with fear, some with awe, and some with quiet hope. For the first time in history, Earth stood above them all. On the flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Hayes and Daniel Reeves stood together in the command chamber. The hollow map of the galaxy hovered before them, filled with countless stars. Red markers, once showing enemy fleets, were now gone. The galaxy was quiet. Hayes' voice was steady. The Council has bowed. Their fleets are dust. Their strongholds are ruins. The galaxy is ours to shape. Daniel looked at the stars, his expression thoughtful. We never wanted this. We asked only for respect, but they gave us mockery. They gave us insult, and now they finally understand. Hayes placed his hands behind his back. So what now? Do we rule them? Do we crush them? Daniel shook his head. His voice was calm but firm. We do not seek to rule. We do not seek to enslave. We will not become what they were. We only demand this. Earth will never again be mocked, never again be dismissed, never again be treated as weak. His words hung in the air like a promise. Messages spread across the stars. Human broadcasts carried a simple declaration. We are not conquerors. We are not tyrants. We are human. We stand as equals in the galaxy. and none shall silence us again. On distant worlds, people listened in silence. On colonies ruled harshly by the council, workers smiled faintly, whispering that maybe change had come. On independent planets long ignored by the council, leaders nodded with respect. Not all believed, not all trusted, but no one laughed. No, one dared. In the ruins of the council capital, the surviving delegates gathered in secret. They spoke in hushed tones, their voices low with fear. "What will Earth do next?" one asked. "Will they punish us?" another whispered. "Will they destroy us?" But no one had the answer, because Earth had left the battlefield not with demands, not with chains, but with silence, and that silence was heavier than fire. Back on Earth, the people celebrated. Cities lit up with bright lights, bells rang, and voices cheered into the night. For years their world had been mocked, dismissed, and underestimated. Now the galaxy finally saw them as they truly were. Families gathered under the stars, pointing at the skies. "That is our place," they told their children. "No one can deny it now." In the oceans, the hidden bases opened their doors to the light. In the deserts, the war machines rested, their duty done. Humanity had struck and humanity had won. On the Iron Resolve, Daniel stood alone at the viewing window. The stars stretched before him, endless and eternal. He thought of the day he first stood in the council chamber, laughed at, mocked, ignored. That day felt far away now, but the memory still burned inside him. He whispered to the stars. "We were silent for too long. Now the galaxy is silent instead." Admiral Hayes entered quietly. "They will never forget this day," he said. Daniel nodded. "Good. Let them remember. Let them remember not our ships, not our weapons, not our fury, but our will. Humanity's will." The Admiral gave a small smile. "Then this is the new order?" Daniel turned, his eyes calm but sharp. "No, not order. Balance. We do not rule the stars, but we will never again be pushed aside. That is enough." Across the galaxy, silence held. The council was broken. Earth had risen. A new chapter began, and in every world, in every port, in every dark corner of space, a single truth echoed. Humanity had spoken, and the galaxy would never dare to laugh again.